Hi guys, this is Omer from MMOs.com, and I'm doing another quick weekly news recap of all major MMO news and announcements for the week ending June 15th, 2020. This episode number 249 of the recap, and the first of news this week comes from Sega regarding Phantasy Star Online 2. The game's episode 4 update was officially announced and is set to launch sometime in August. These episode updates are major updates to the game, and besides episode 4, episode 5 and 6 were also slated for release later this year. Episode 5 launches in Q3, and Episode 6 comes out in Q4. By the end of the year, the Western version of Phantasy Star Online 2 will be almost caught up with the Japanese version. The Western version launched with Episode 1 to 3, with Episode 4 launching in Japan in 2016, Episode 5 launching in 2017, and Episode 6 launching in 2019. Those are all for the Japanese release, so the content gap between the JP and NA versions are quickly closing. Perhaps more importantly though, at the end of the official Episode 4 trailer, it says that the game is available on the Microsoft Store and will soon be available on other PC platforms. So expect a launch on the Steam and Epic Games clients soon. I know a lot of people hate the Microsoft Store, and justifiably so, so launch outside the Windows Store is great news, and it should happen soon. And despite not being a new game, Phantasy Star Online 2 is probably the most exciting, newish MMORPG we've had in the West in some time, so if you haven't played it, it's worth checking out. Next up, Torchlight 3 from Perfect World Entertainment officially launched on Steam Early Access this weekend on Saturday for a price of $29.99. This one has a bit of an interesting development history, as it was originally supposed to be a free-to-play MMORPG, but has since changed its scope to be a buy-to-play traditional Torchlight game. The game launched with 4 playable classes and all the goodies you'd expect from a dungeon-crawling Diablo-like ARPG. I was personally more hyped for a free-to-play Torchlight MMORPG, but I guess they couldn't quite make it work. But still, Torchlight 1 and 2 were pretty successful, and if you like the first 2 Torchlight games, 3 is probably worth checking out. Up next, some good news for Destiny 2 fans. The game revealed its Beyond Light expansion, which is set to launch in September 2020, which takes place on a new planet called Europa, and will feature a new darkness-based element. The game also announced updates going into 2020, with the Witch Queen expansion launching September 2021, and Lightfall launching in 2022. It's pretty incredible to see them announce updates all the way into 2022, which also tells us that we should expect the Destiny 3 for some time. And Destiny 2 is still doing remarkably well and boasts a player base of over 1.5 million players. The game's average Steam concurrent player base sits at just 56,000 and peaked at over 200,000 this last weekend. And again, this is on Steam alone, so Destiny 2 is doing quite great. If you never played this one, its base game is free to play, so it's worth checking out, but all the expansions and updates will cost money. Next up, Wurm Online, the sandbox persistent open world Rust-like MMO, is officially launching on Steam on July 24th as a free-to-play game. Wurm Online is an interesting title, as it's basically the original Minecraft-like game where you can totally reshape the entire landscape of the world, but unlike Minecraft, it's extremely complicated. Think Rust, but doing anything takes forever. In fact, Wurm Online's original designer was Marcus Pearson, who is better known as Notch. Yep, the same Notch behind Minecraft. Minecraft was the same dude who worked on Wurm Online before Minecraft. But yeah, it's launching as a free-to-play game on Steam on July 24th. I tried playing this one years ago off Steam, and it's not my cup of tea only because things take forever. It really is like, Minecraft meets Rust, but things just take forever to do. Up next, Raf Koster's company Playable Worlds raised $10 million from investors for the creation of a cloud-native sandbox MMO. Raf Koster is an MMO designer who worked on Ultima Online and Star Wars Galaxies, so the guy clearly has some experience with MMOs. Unfortunately though, there's 0 videos or screenshots to show off here. In fact, whatever game Playable Worlds is working on isn't even quite named yet, but $10 million raised towards MMO development is definitely good news to me. The biggest differentiator here seems to be that it's cloud-native, which means it should be more scalable in theory, but basically there's no information about the game just yet or what the technology will do, but apparently $10 million has been raised and they're working towards a cloud-native MMO. Next up, Final Fantasy XI is celebrating its 18th anniversary with various in-game events. So yes, Final Fantasy XI is officially of legal age now. They're celebrating the occasion with the Mandragoria Mania anniversary events. The June update for the game is also live and features the return of the Dullahan and Pitaketos tribes. I definitely pronounced that wrong. There's also a new login campaign and increased drop rates for seals and crests. Unfortunately, while this is still an update, it really isn't introducing anything new to the game, just kind of returning old stuff and recycling old content into the game. Final Fantasy XI is an oldie, and it doesn't get too much love from Square Enix nowadays, especially with Final Fantasy XIV still doing really well. But still pretty incredible that the game is 18 years old now and still going, though it's not getting updates the same way EverQuest is still getting updates, but it's still alive. Next, a tiny bit of news for Neverwinter, the D&D action MMORPG from Cryptic Studios. The game launched the Rage of Bell update for this week for PC, which introduces new story content for the game, and is an extension of the Infernal Descent update, and is a precursor leading up to the beginning of the story for the upcoming Neverwinter update, which will be announced probably in a couple weeks. It's a small update, but an update nonetheless. Neverwinter averages about 2,100 or so players online at a given time on Steam alone, which definitely ain't too shabby. Next up, a small bit of news for a rather obscure game. FreeStyle 2 is launching a new 3v3 game mode in the next few days. It says coming soon. All we have to really work on is this 15-second trailer you're seeing in the background right now. Now, FreeStyle 2 is a free-to-play basketball MMO, and it's actually one of my favorite free-to-play games. It's a really fun, little obscure basketball game. I don't really like sports games, but for some reason, I love FreeStyle 2. And they'll be getting a new game mode in the next few weeks, most likely, this new 3v3 mode. And despite the game being rather obscure, it's not quite dead. It averages about 778 players online over the last 30 days, which ain't terrible. And I have a bit of news for Amazon's New World. The game is launching into closed beta on July 23rd, 2020. So it's coming out pretty soon. The global PC launch will be on August 25th, 2020. So closed beta July 23rd, and 1 month later, you got the full launch on August 25th. The game promises a Rust-like experience with base building elements along with some serious RPG elements and more persistent elements as well. It'll be the first major Amazon game that people have really heard of. Crucible kind of came out of nowhere, and it's not doing very hot right now anyway. But yeah, New World is coming out on July 23rd for closed beta, and full PC launch on August 25th. Next and last bit of news this week is a small one. The Greymoor update for Elder Scrolls Online, which has been live on PC for over a week now, officially launched on PS4 and Xbox One. The game's player base jumped on PC with Greymoor launch, and it's now averaging over 24,000 players on Steam alone. The PC and Xbox and PS4 versions are all separate from each other, and each has a pretty sizable player base. Last I read, the player base is nearly equally divided amongst all three platforms, which means the game is likely averaging over 75,000 concurrent players across all platforms combined, likely a bit more as the PC numbers were from Steam alone. Anyway guys, that's it for MMO News this week. I'll see you guys next week. Later guys.